me now with more. Guy Benson, political editor of townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. Leslie Marshall is a radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor as well. And Alex Conan is the former communications director for Marco Rubio 2016 and a Republican strategist. Good to see you all tonight. Guy, I'll start with Sandra. You first. This is obviously a big trip for the Trump administration. Rex Tillerson heading over to Asia. What do you expect out of this trip?
Well, it's a big early test for Secretary Tillerson and the Trump administration. And not only is it a major overseas trip, it comes amid, as we heard there from Rich Edson, a really difficult time getting close to a crisis, I would say, on the Korean Peninsula, where you have North Korea, which is always bellicose, but even more belligerent than usual with the missile tests, coordinating, it appears, that brazen assassination at the airport in Kuala Lumpur. And then down south in South Korea, huge political upheaval with the president being thrown out for corruption and riots in the streets. So this is an opportunity, I think, for the secretary to prove his mettle. And hey, diplomacy isn't easy. Welcome to the big, messy world stage. And it is a big, messy world stage, Leslie. Japan, South Korea, China. This is a huge trip at a time when North Korea is firing missiles and issuing threats. And this is going to be a big test for Rex Tillerson and the Trump administration.
Well, I think it is going to be a big test. I mean, so far he's been pretty much sidelined to a degree by this administration. We've seen that not only with Mexican dignitaries coming and his office not being aware, and now the press is sidelined. But will China sideline Rex Tillerson? This is a big question, and this is, I think, the largest of tasks that the Secretary of State has. China has a warm and friendly, and likes having a warm and friendly relationship with Pyongyang, if nothing else, to keep balance because of the relationship and the alliance between South Korea and the United States. I'm not sure that the Secretary of State is going to be able to get China completely on board with the future of how they view North Korea and how much of a threat they view North Korea and what action they want to take there with Japan and South Korea.
Alex, what do you want to see out of this trip?
Well, I think this is actually a big opportunity for Secretary Tillerson. We haven't seen much of him yet, but he can't avoid the press this entire trip. The press is going to be there at these stops. And the people he will be meeting with, Asian countries, they value public commitments. And so this is an opportunity. In fact, what Secretary Tillerson must do here, if this is going to be a successful trip, is back up all the talk we've heard out of the Trump administration so far with concrete action, concrete pressure on China, on issues like North Korea, like human rights, like the South China Sea. The time for talk is over. We need firm commitments. We need public pressure, and that is the opportunity before Secretary Tillerson on this trip.
Guy, what do you make of what Leslie just brought up, that he's sort of being sidelined, Rex Tillerson, by the administration, that there's meetings that are taking place, that the State Department's acting spokesperson didn't know that Mexico's foreign minister was visiting, and then meanwhile, he was meeting with some of Trump's top aides?
Yeah, I think that miscommunication obviously was unfortunate for the Trump administration, but I think it is very premature to say that any member of the cabinet, these people have just been confirmed and taken their jobs. It's what, day 50 or so of this administration, say, oh, he's sidelined or he's cut out of the loop. It's very early. This is an important trip, a high profile trip. He's the Secretary of State, the top diplomat. And so, again, I think that Leslie has a point. Let's wait and see. But making any strong declarations about this at this stage, I think, is way too early.
But perhaps it is too early, and the press seems to want to make a lot of this about themselves rather than talking about the serious nature of this trip. Leslie?
Well, I think it is a very serious trip, but I also think it's serious and unprecedented when you have a Secretary of State making such a trip. I remember the State Department wouldn't even confirm this was a trip or give any specifics. If nothing else, the American people have the right to know what's going on. We have demanded, I think, right and left, and certainly with the election of this president, transparency. And that includes with what is going on, especially when you've just had an impeachment of one of our big allies, South Korea, of their president. And secondly, when you've had launches and you have whisperings in the country of, are we going to send troops? Are we going to be fighting against North Korea? So I think, if nothing else, to assuage the fears of the American people by giving the facts through the press, they have to have access, because that's what America expects. And by the way, that sets us apart from a country like China that he needs to do business with.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Thanks to all three of you. Good to see you tonight.